My name is David Leslie. I live in Portland, Oregon, but to some extent my whole life has been a bit of an immigration story. I've lived in other countries, I've lived all over the United States, and I think because of that experience I'm pretty sensitive to what it means to be a newcomer in a place that may not be familiar to you. In my work every day, and this has really been for decades, is working really close with refugee and immigrants from all over the world. And I think that the thing that I know from my first-hand experience, and then you overlay that an ethical, religious piece of value set, is to be hospitable, to welcome people that are new to the community, because being a stranger myself, you understand what the isolation is. And I think that growing up in Texas was a pretty helpful piece of really helping to radicalize a lot of my feelings and experience about immigration and immigrants. I remember as a boy going to the Alamo, and as I walked into this bastion of Texas independence, I realized it all depends on what side of the storyline you are. One day you're the victor, another day you've been defeated. And because of war, oftentimes because of politics, we redefine people, and they oftentimes have no say about who they are and their loyalties and their. So I grew up in Texas. Growing up in Texas, it was very evident right there as a young person just how borders were so flexible. They were fungible. I remember going to the Alamo as a boy and realizing it depended on what side of the war you were on, that bastion of Texas independence. But for others, it was a sign of oppression. It was a sign of defeat. And I think that in recent years, as Texas and other border states have become ground zero for a lot of the debate and discussion around immigration, I think we've lost the sense that borders are not permanent kind of demarcations. They're places that can define people helpfully, and they're places that can divide people. And I think we've seen a lot of the division in recent days that have negated things like storylines of family histories that are hundreds of years old, that suddenly we get defined as us and them and not as we. So part of my New Year's resolution is to continue to work hard for immigration reform. I think part of that is also rooted in the fact that we know every day that we as our nation, as nations over time, probably millennia old, use the labor of immigrants oftentimes, but don't honor their citizenship as just being people of God, as just being people. And I think part of what we need to do here in the United States, we have an opportunity to kind of right that ship, so to speak, and to help honor people, the contributions they made here, sometimes that are decades old, and to lift them up as really human beings that have worth and dignity in their own right. So in 2011, my goal is really to keep working at that at the most local level in our state, to make sure we don't have bills like Senate Bill 1070 that was passed in Arizona. We don't have local initiatives that penalize landlords and employers for hiring certain types of people. And that on the national level, we find some way to honor the gifts and talents of people that oftentimes are brought here to make our lives more comfortable, to be people in their own right, and a path to citizenship. So that's my commitment for 2011.